Under the Scope.
Hey, Scope fans, Jared and Shane here.
Hi!
A summer movie review. It's exciting.
We got our coats on. That's what you do in summer, right?
Because it's like 40 degrees out right now. Jared and I just got out of a special sneak preview of the Walt Disney film Tomorrowland. Mm-hmm. Yes. The review embargo just lifted, Jared, so we're going to be okay because it hit hard today.
You know us, we always sign our NDAs.
We do. This is a fantastical film starring George Clooney, Britt Robertson, which
you may know her from Under the Dome.
Ah, that's where I've seen her before. Hugh Laurie, House himself,
and Judy Greer. She's in the credits. We didn't see her in the film. We're not sure if she got cut or what.
This is yet another Disney film that is loosely based on a Disney attraction. Of course, we've had Pirates of the Caribbean, and now we've had Tomorrowland. I'm sure there's other ones, or other ones in the makings. Who knows? But Epcot World coming soon.
It's a small world after all, sucker. That's coming.
This is a very, very difficult movie to describe, so I'm going to let Jared do it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Without spoiling too much, because there are heavy spoilers.
Well, basically, the film starts with a young Frank Walker. He's a boy prodigy. He's invented something. He goes to the World's Fair. He's there to win an inventor's prize, but apparently his device doesn't quite work 100%, and Hugh Laurie tells him to go make it work. Meanwhile, a young girl...
You're going to describe the whole movie, aren't you?
A young girl, which I don't know if we're led to believe it's his daughter or what, but she sort of chases after him and gives him a pin and says, follow me, whatever, and he is eventually whisked away to the wonderful land of tomorrow.
Yeah. Or Tomorrowland.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yes. It's a beautiful world, isn't it? It's the future.
I don't know if this boy has parents or not, but apparently that doesn't matter because he ends up, I guess, living there.
Oh, he does have a dad. We did see his father.
That's true. Yeah, he helps... his
dad didn't like him very much.
Invent a bunch of new stuff and create new technologies, but something happens...
that we don't even know.
We don't even know exactly what happened.
Cut to the future, or cut to the present.
Something happens. We cut to the present, and we meet Casey Newton. Newton, huh?
She's another dreamer.
She is a dreamer.
But she's a little bit of a troublemaker, as kids often are in movies of this sort.
Right, but she knows how things work. And eventually she gets in possession of this pin. This pin you've seen in the trailers. The
big T pin.
opens a window to this fantastic new world. But she doesn't have anyone there initially to guide her, to show her what is up. Until our little girlfriend shows up again.
Frank Walker,
strangely same age.
Has an age, but she's dressed a little bit more.
She is
currently.
More currently. Things happen, and eventually they meet up with an older Frank Walker, played by George Clooney.
Yes.
And
handsome, rugged.
And we start to get a glimpse into our story and things that may have happened to Tomorrowland. Things are definitely not as they were. Something bad happened.
And much like in Back to the Future,
yes,
we've got to get back.
We've got to get back. We've got to fix it.
And so the adventure begins. They're trying to get back.
Right.
There are robots apparently that don't want them to get back, and then there's a lot of plot and a lot of.
We're being sort of circumspect around the details.
Good
because either you'll be here for half an hour summarizing a 2-hour film, or you give too much away and spoil it for people.
I feel...
there you go.
I just interrupted you, but I feel for movie critics that actually have to write this up, summarize this, because it's very difficult. And the whole movie's a bunch of spoilers. It's one spoiler after another, so if you tell one thing, you sort of have to tell everything to really get the point across. So let's just say they're trying to get back to Tomorrowland, and our regular world is in danger, and they're trying to essentially figure out why. And the answers are in Tomorrowland, perhaps.
So if you don't want any more spoilers, you probably should turn this off now, because we may talk more spoilers from this point
forward. Be as careful as we can, but I think that we'll go into...
It's impossible to review the film and not talk about stuff that happened, so there you go.
So let's talk about, I think, which is probably the most defining characteristic of this film.
Yes.
Which is a strange sense of optimism and utter lack of cynicism in this film.
It's
pristinely...
It's aspirational.
Yeah.
That's the word I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's almost like a self-help book, in a way. You know, I mean, this movie really, if you think about the big themes of it, it is trying to get the movie viewers to think bigger and think more positive and think about ways to change the world. I mean, there's definitely parallels in this film to modern day Earth.
Well, absolutely. I mean, in the film, the Earth there's literally a countdown to its destruction.
Yes. And we're causing it.
And we're causing it, and so it's happening in the movie, but it's also referencing what is happening in real life. So,
is it too on the nose? Is it too uncomfortable?
I felt like it was a little too preachy at times.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, you could go either way. If you're the type of person who is your worldview is that we're not doing enough, and we really should be thinking bigger thoughts on how to do things better, then you're probably going to take it to heart and go, this is what I've been waiting for. If you're the type of person who doesn't like to be told what to do, who really is just sort of like, screw it, I'm living for me, I don't care about the rest of the world, you're probably going to think like someone's trying to get you to eat your vegetables.
I have a feeling that we know some people that will be highly insulted by this film as a liberal ploy to get you to try to do things differently that might fall in with a liberal agenda. I don't know, but I would guess if you think about saving resources, treating the world with respect, treating your fellow human beings with respect. I mean, I think there's some good messages in there, even if it does come across a little heavy-handed,
right.
and it does sort of slap you across the face from time to time. That I found like, maybe it doesn't bother me as much as it could, but I know that there will be giant, 49% of the population that's probably going to be hit a little too hard on this.
It could be heavy-handed, but at the same time, maybe it's a little bit of us going, geez, maybe we should be doing more. We're just feeling a little guilty about it. I mean, the whole point of the film really is that we know that the world is going to end, or the Tomorrowland people know the world is going to end, and they're trying to tell us that we're screwing things up.
But we're doing it anyway.
But we're doing it anyway. We're just ignoring it. We're going headlong into it.
Yep.
And you know what? There's probably some truth there.
So you can't really get through the movie without talking about that. But let's dig deeper into the actual movie making
movie
stuff that this contains.
Yeah.
I think that it's well acted. George Clooney comes across as a bit of a crank from time to time.
I think that's intentional.
But I think that's the
supposed to be cranky
character. Yeah,
he's been ousted from Tomorrowland, and he's not happy about it.
The character of Casey, played by Britt Robertson, is feisty, but not particularly precocious, and very likable, and I think she does a great job.
True.
You know what I mean? And then the android character played by...
I think that the Casey character is maybe... I don't feel like they did enough. There wasn't enough... It wasn't earned as well. I mean, she's sort of portrayed as the big savior, as the one who knows how things work.
She's the Neo character.
Yeah, she's Neo in this. But there isn't a lot of things that sort of
lead up to that. It doesn't build to it, does it?
I mean, you sort of jump right into it, and you're like, oh, I just have to go for the ride, I guess. So maybe that's the point. But
I agree with that, though.
For a film that's over 2 hours long, I felt like they could have had a little bit more development in that arena.
It was a bit more of a eureka moment, and then all of a sudden things play out.
Especially in the third act, I felt like they sort of got to the solution way easier than they should have.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about Tomorrowland, or perhaps the lack of Tomorrowland in this film. A lot of the advertisements you're going to see, advertisements, movie trailers, feature this fantastical world that's a parallel dimension or whatever it happens to be. Not really featured that much in the movie overall. You get glimpses of it, especially at the beginning, but it sort of goes away. And maybe that's the point of it, but I was expecting a little bit more play in that realm rather than them just trying to get to it. Yeah,
Tomorrowland is sort of in disarray, during the second half of the film when we finally get there.
It's more like 12 hours from now land. I mean, really.
I mean, yes, they still have fancy technology and everything, but it's, it's dark, it's grim, it's dirty. It's not the bright, shining future that we see early in the film.
Yeah. So I mean, I
felt like for a film that was so aspirational, that felt disappointing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's how they're going to portray Tomorrowland for a good chunk of the movie.
You've got...
you know what? They didn't really explain how Tomorrowland got that way. I mean, there was only this thread of they built something that they probably shouldn't have, and now things are bad. I mean, that's really as deep as they got with the explanation.
Yeah.
They didn't really explain why things are sort of not good.
If I may delve into Spoilerville a little bit.
Well, we've been already... We gave them warning.
Perhaps the reason why Tomorrowland isn't so great is because they know that the world is going to end.
They just didn't bother picking up anymore?
So it just sort of demoralized them. But the reality is that world still would be there with or with. That's what they said. Or
yeah.
Maybe so
they said they'd be fine, which is weird. It just seemed like there was like...
That part doesn't make sense. So maybe it was because of the Hugh Laurie character, who's a bit of a dictator.
But he didn't seem that bad. Yeah. He just seemed like it seemed like he was like, we built this thing to try to communicate to the people of Earth that they're screwing things up and that they need to fix it. It didn't work how we thought it would be, but we're like, they're gonna screw it up. Their world's gonna end. We're gonna be fine here.
But under his watch, they were willing to vaporize tons of regular humans. They were willing to kill the George Clooney character if possible.
There's that whole side of it wasn't explained very well.
It was like they didn't want the people of Tomorrowland to be cartoony villains, but
they were cartoony villains.
But they were, and then they were sort of milquetoasty at the same time. Like you didn't really understand what their motivations were. Yeah. That part was not fleshed out as much as the heroes of the protagonists, if you will.
Yes.
So, yeah, I found this movie to be fascinating, but at the same time a bit less than what it could be. Mm-hmm. I didn't come out of it loving it.
It didn't feel fully realized.
Yeah.
I mean, there was definitely some fantastic visuals, some great ideas on where things could be, and just some really fanciful production design.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there was a lot of depth there. It just felt like it was a lot of surface.
I felt like they didn't commit to the bit on it, to pull a phrase from one of our many Scope shows, but that's really the point of it. Like, it didn't give me everything that I was expecting. I mean, you've got Brad Bird, you've got Damon Lindelof, who, was one of the key creative forces behind Lost. Brad Bird, loved for so much of his animated work.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one just wasn't quite there. Like the germ, the kernel of truth was there, but they could not expand it into something that was...
I wanted more mystery. I wanted more there, to use a phrase that people like to use.
They do, and I don't like to use it. So instead of using that phrase, let's give it a score.
The Scope score is 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
Our first sort of, minor disappointment of the summer movie season that we've seen.
It wasn't insulting, but it definitely did not live up to its expectations. And this is a movie I was kind of excited to take my kid to. Yeah. I think that there was enough snoozy parts in it where she probably wouldn't be that interested in the message.
Yeah.
I think that it's a great message, but I just think as a family entertainment, it was... it's sort of like some of the boring rides at Disney World,
A little bit.
You got to read the plaques, you've got to see the information, but, you're really waiting for that drop off the cliff into fun.
And we had some youths in the row behind us at the theater who got up several times throughout the film. Probably not just full bladders. They probably were bored. Yeah. I don't know. So maybe that's an indicator that it's not going to hold the younger person's attention.
I think you're right, Jared. So, Jared, how can people contact and get in touch and interact with us, the Scope people?
You can like, comment, and subscribe. All that information is right down below.
It's just that easy. So we've got many more summer movies coming.
We do.
I mean, it's still not even June, guys. So make sure you keep in touch. Check out our website. Check out all the information that Jared mentioned. And we've got more reviews coming soon. So for Jared and me, Shane, we'll see you next time.
You know what to do.
Bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. The days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying arrivederci. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.